Hey everyone, Breezy Desktop 2 just launched and I wanted to talk about some of the new features. So let's take a look at first what the Breezy Desktop app looks like when you don't have any glasses connected, or if your glasses aren't supported. I'll put a link in the video description for supported devices. So the first switch we see on the screen is whether or not we want the effect to automatically enable when you plug your glasses in. If you turn this off, then you'll just see a static screen when you plug your glasses in, as if Breezy Desktop wasn't even installed. The second option is whether or not you want to automatically disable the physical displays connected to your computer when the effect comes on. So if I turn this feature on and I plugged my glasses in right now, what I would see is these two physical monitors automatically turn off. If you want to do mixed reality where you've got physical displays mixed in with the virtual displays and use the pass-through on your glasses to see the physical displays, then you would want to turn this feature off. So now let's plug in the glasses and talk about some of the new features. So this is what Breezy Desktop looks like when glasses are plugged in and the effect is enabled. You can see I have my physical monitors turned off. That's because I had this switch turned on when I plugged in the glasses. So those are black now. They're not showing any screens, even though they are plugged into my computer. And the first and biggest new feature I wanted to talk about with Breezy 2.0 is the ability to add virtual displays. In this context, by virtual displays, I mean displays that don't actually have a real monitor associated with them. I didn't have to plug in another monitor or any sort of dummy plug to get this. All I have to do is choose a resolution from 1080p, 1440p, or I'll show you what it looks like to add a custom one, and then hit the plus symbol here, and it'll automatically do that for me. One thing to note is that it automatically put one screen to the left and one screen to the right and put my view in the center. If I wanted to adjust where my view is automatically, I can do it by using these offsets here. I can either do it horizontally or vertically. Another thing to look at here is the display spacing. By default, it'll be set here to 0, the smallest setting. This is the biggest setting. If you want to add a little bit of spacing between your monitors, you can adjust that to your preference. The other thing to look at is this display angling setting. This determines how the screens face you when you have more than one. Right now I have it set to automatic, so it does what it thinks is best. Because I've got one display to the left and one display to the right, it'll automatically turn them towards me, as you can see here. I could also choose flat, or if I have them stacked one on top of the other, I can choose top angled or use automatic. Right now it looks flat because they are side by side. If I want to rearrange my displays, this will take me to the GNOME displays panel, and I can stack them like this. And now you can see what top angled looks like where they're facing me top to bottom. Again, I can choose flat if I would like to. Let's put it back on automatic. Recenter our screens here. So let's take a look at the display resolutions. I can choose 1440p. That creates a giant display that will typically get cropped by your glasses because your glasses are 1080p and the screen is much bigger. So unless you zoom really far out, you won't be able to see the whole screen. But it is great if you want to just be able to focus in on one part of the screen. Let's take a look at custom resolutions. You can see here I have width and height sliders, which allow me to choose anything from a 640 to 3840 width and 480 to 2160 height. This would be a double wide display, similar to the old Breezy's ultra wide. So if I add that resolution, it's now been added to this list, and if I hit the plus, now I have 3 displays, and I can use the GNOME displays dialog to rearrange them how I'd like. And now I've got 3 displays, 2 1080p and 1 double wide. And this is a good time to talk about curved displays because you can see with the ultra wide, It's wide enough that, especially if I were to bring the displays closer, these edges would be pretty far away from me. I'd have more trouble reading text over here than in the center. So with the curved display option, I can turn that on, and now every pixel is equally as close to me as the other pixels. The display angling option will still be used here. So if I choose top angled, now it's curved the other direction. And flat doesn't actually do anything. It actually just behaves like automatic because you have the curved option set. This is what flat looks like with these three displays. So let's take a look at the zooming feature because it has changed a bit from Breezy 1.0. Now it only zooms in on the display that you're looking at. So if I turn this on and I'm looking at this screen, now that one display becomes zoomed in towards me. And I can change how close or how far I want the focus display to be by using this slider here. And when I turn to look at another display, that display will now take focus and zoom in. So that's what I mean by zoom on focus. If I want to change how far all the displays are by default, the ones in the background, or if I have zoom on focus turned off, I will use this all displays distance slider to change how close or how far all the displays are. If I ever want to remove virtual displays that I've added, I can either hit this orange icon here in the panel, and if you're not using dash to panel like I am here, then that would show up top. Or I can just hit these trash can icons and remove them one display at a time. The last feature to talk about here is follow mode. And just like the zoom on focus feature, this one has been updated so that only the focus display follows you. So if I enable this, you can see now that the display will follow my head movements within this threshold. So I can choose to make it a tighter follow or a looser follow. You may not see it, but it is following me when I make bigger head movements. So I like to have one that's sort of in between so that I can see the corners of the display, but still have it follow. If there were other displays here in the background, they would actually stay where they are. And then when I turn follow mode off, it snaps back to where it was before. So let's take a look at the keyboard shortcuts. This first one, you can set a shortcut to automatically turn on and off the XR effect. So on my system, I have Alt \\, and if I hit those keys, it goes right back to a static display. The recenter shortcut allows you to look somewhere and then put the screen over there. And that's a good shortcut to get used to as well because all of these glasses exhibit a little bit of drift, which means that when you put the screen somewhere, over time it'll eventually sort of drift away from that true center that you set it to. So this allows you to correct that whenever you notice it. The toggle zoom on focus shortcut is the same shortcut that I had before for quickly zooming in and out. The toggle follow mode shortcut is a quick way to toggle into follow mode and out of follow mode and have it snap back. And this last shortcut is a sort of quality of life thing that was needed for, in the case where you have multiple displays, because with XR glasses you don't have peripheral vision, it's hard to just move your mouse around and see where it is. So if you lose track of it, especially when you add a bunch of new displays and you don't immediately know where your mouse cursor is, this shortcut will bring the mouse cursor to the center of your currently focused display. So if I'm looking at this display, it will center it. But if I have another display over here and I hit that keyboard shortcut, it'll bring it to the center of that display. And then let's take a look at some of the advanced settings. So a few of these already existed in Breezy 1.0, and I recommend you keep these first two enabled. This sets up your glasses display to the optimal settings when you plug it in so that it's not scaled too high and so that it's using the highest refresh rate. This third one is off by default. If you turn it on, when you add new displays, it'll make it so that your viewport where you're looking is always at this primary display, which is the display that your glasses creates. So all other virtual displays may be placed somewhere around it, but your view will always stay on this display. You'll notice because I had it turned off, when I added a second virtual display, my view was moved to the middle between those two. Always primary display determines whether or not your display is automatically chosen to be this primary display in the GNOME display settings. If you have physical displays plugged in and they don't get disabled, then it may remain on one of your physical displays. So this next option is whether or not you want to kill all the virtual displays that you've created when you disable the XR effect or when you unplug your glasses. This second from the last option is whether you want the multi-tap gesture detection that I introduced with the Steam Deck plugin. When you tap on the edge of your glasses twice or three times, it will try to recenter or recalibrate your glasses. By default, I have this disabled now to prevent false positives. And then the last option is for follow mode. If you don't like having just the focus display follow you, then you can turn this on and it'll make it so that all of your virtual displays and your focus display will follow your movements. The next thing to look at is this follow mode movement tracking. There are three axes here. One is horizontal, one is vertical, and another is tilt and roll. If you have all of these disabled, then your screen, when it's in follow mode, I'll quickly put it into follow mode here, will track you in all directions. By default, tilt and roll is disabled because most people don't actually want it to track them in that direction. So if I put it back into follow mode, it'll follow me in these two directions, but it won't follow the tilt. I personally like to have vertical disabled so it only tracks me in the left and right direction, but I can still look down at my keyboard and it won't follow me down there. These last two options you probably won't want to touch. I'd recommend reading these descriptions here if you're interested. So that's it for the new Breezy Desktop features in GNOME. And next on my agenda is to begin researching whether or not it's possible to bring these features over to KDE, which I know a lot of you want for Steam Deck desktop support. So fingers crossed that that goes well. Thanks for watching.